Hello everyone, Bridget Casey here with you, and I'm so excited to be part of Altenew's September 2023 release video hop. We are going to use a bunch of stuff from this. Here's a peek at our first project that we did, and a second peek at another project I included, but I didn't show the steps because they were repetitive of the first project. We're going to get started with our stamp wheel, and I have my alignment guides. My A2 is down in my bottom left-hand corner, which allows me to make a portrait A2 sized card. I then am going to take the Inspiring Diamond stamp set, and I will use the Sentiment die set in the second card. I'm also using Cool Summer Night, Limestone and Silverstone from Rock Collection. The Cool Summer Night is from the newest release of inks, from the Fresh Dye inks. And I'm aligning the tip of my Inspiring Diamond up there with the crosshatch in my stamp wheel. And I'm beginning with Sea Glass. And now I can just rotate this as I go around, making sure to ink up each of the layers. Then I'll stamp it down, flip it over, ink it up, and keep going in that way until all of the steps are completed for that particular layer. And I love the stamp wheel because I never would have tried this before. It would have been too difficult and I would have been hairless. At the end, I would have ripped all my hair out. It wouldn't have been good. So at this point, what I've done is I want to add more of the diamonds. So I'm just repositioning it and then back with my Sea Glass. I started with Sea Glass for my first ink, and I've got my Sea Glass and I'm going around, and this will just basically put the diamonds in the corners. So I'm inking up, stamping down, and then going again. So the stamp wheel makes this so easy to make a wreath out of pretty much anything, which is wonderful because I love the look of wreaths. A lot of times they were too difficult to make, and the stamp wheel makes that so a thing of the past. So now I'm taking the second layer, and in this stamp set, I am guilty of taking a stamp and throwing it to the side and, I'll figure it out later. But this, you want to make sure you keep checking back at the carrier sheet because you want to make sure you're putting the correct layer on. Now we're going in with Silverstone, and this is going to be our second layer. And this stamp set will give you a little wiggle room. So, I do stand on my tiptoes to try to make sure that I get it lined up perfectly. But, because we want it to line up nicely. I don't like to use that word perfectly, but I seem to use it a lot. But we want it to line up nicely, shall we say. And so I do my best, but I feel like this is somewhat forgiving if you're a hair of a line outside of the stamp set here or there. It's okay. And I'll show you coming up what I think is the most important section to look at. Of course, you want to look at all of your stamp as you're stamping down. Again, we're still using that Silverstone because we're just going ahead and we're getting our outside diamonds now. I did realign them because I had to move my stamp to stamp them. So I'll do the 4 in the center, realign, and then do the 4 in the corners. This will be the final one for this. Then we will move on to layer 3. So we'll get that into place. And there's layer 3, and I'm just showing you, I'm pulling it from my carrier sheet and I'm getting it aligned. This is where I'm going to show you the little sneak peek that helps me line it up. So if I'm looking at this, I want to make sure that row of little squares right there, that's what I'm really focusing on. That helps me line it up super duper. And I do, of course, check all the other little nooks and crannies. And now we are moving to limestone. But I do check the other nooks and crannies as I go on the stamp. But that seems to be my place that I look, and it lines up nicely for me every time. I caught myself almost saying that word. But it lines up nicely every time for me. So I really like looking there. So we'll get this layer done, and that will complete our 4 internal diamonds. And then we'll go ahead and we'll get it lined up. Now, when I do stamp over onto the alignment guides, because if you don't have these guys, these are phenomenal. They are just amazing. They're just like a stencil material, so they wipe off easily. So like right here, I'm getting ink on there. I am wiping that off in between, and I'm being careful not to rub it onto my card. So pay attention when you're wiping, wipe away from your project, not towards. because otherwise you will pull that ink from the stencil material onto your project, and you don't want to do that. But I am doing that in between. I just didn't make you watch it because my microfiber cloths, although clean, are not good looking. And finally, we are on the fourth layer. And this fourth layer, we are going to go with Ocean Waves, which I'm so excited because it's so pretty. And I do recommend, take that extra 5 seconds and make sure it's lined up, especially with a stamp set like this, because once you stamp it down, and I did do a 1-layer card here, which is unheard of for me. I do add dimension, but I am the dimension queen, love dimension. Can't have a card without it, really. It kills a part of my crafty soul to have a 1-dimensional card. I love dimension. And if you know what you love, you should go with it. So yeah. But you could, keep this a 1-dimensional card really, really super easily. So I highly recommend taking the extra 5 seconds and making sure it's aligned. And those, I love these round inks. I drop them on the floor quite a bit. And that means my caps don't come off and they don't get cat fur or whatever other things are flying around the floor there. And it makes me just so happy. So it's like a protectant, protects my ink pad from me. And then I'm just making sure before I lock that into place and stamp down, I am in the right area there. So just making sure. See, double checking. It's always good to double check yourself. I get in the zone and I just start going and forget. So here I wanted to put the diamonds on the top and the bottom as well. And I didn't know in the beginning if we would have room for it. So I decided to wait till the end. And I could have snuggled it up a little bit more, although I do like my placement. So for the first 3 layers, we're in the money. We're all good. We're doing sea glass. Then we'll go to silverstone. Then we'll go to limestone. Then we'll go to ocean waves. So same process, same steps, same everything. I'm just doing it on the top and the bottom. And yeah, so when I get to the 4th one, I can't quite get it to fit. So it's all right. I just moved my card. It's no biggie at all. And I do have to tell you, I did clean these in between because I didn't realize I was going to do this. So I did clean them in between and put them back on the carrier sheet to make sure I got the right stamps. So I thought you guys would be so proud. Knowing me, if you've ever watched one of my videos. So, all right. So there we have the limestone. And then finally we'll come in with the ocean waves. But I'm going to peel this up and I'm going to stick it down on the bottom. And something else I've found about this stamp set, I like to line it up upside down. Like I cannot line it up when the top is up. I have to be looking at the point down to the base. I don't know what it is. I just can't. So you know what? Embrace it and go with it. And I didn't need a whole lot of ink there, just that one section. And then I'm going to turn it and then I'll readjust my stamp to make sure it's lined up nicely. And I'm in the money there, so to speak. And we'll get that stamped into place. Now I did intend on using a sentiment from this set. And then I saw one on my desk, so I grabbed that. And I was like, well, I didn't use it. And I showed I was going to use it. So I decided to make another card. So here's the first card. We're all done stamping. And then this is the sentiment. And this is new. This is the Sunshine Greeting from the Magical Forest Ensemble. And it's Shine Bright. And it is hot foiled with the brushed gold. I've got some foam tape. So this is where my dimension comes in on the back. I'm just popping that into place. And I love it. I love the simplicity. It's gorgeous. So here are the 2 cards. The second card, I used the new Red Cosmos Fresh Dye ink, and I just want to show you what I used. So for my first layer, I went ahead and used Coral Berry. Then I used Grapevine, and then I used Ruby Red, and then I used Frosty Pink to make this with some jet black ink spray. I hope you had fun on this hop so far. There's so much more to go. Make sure you check out all of the designers because you never know where you're going to get that inspiration. And make sure too, if you haven't given a thumbs up and a like, we love to see those. Until next time, happy crafting.